hit record, so whatever you say
I'm
goes
on
in the
record.
books. I'm going to set this up so that we look and sound awesome
Okay.
when we talk about Tom Cruise and his wacky, wild adventures into Scientology.
There was a moment I was watching some video of Tom Cruise today, and it felt like I was just watching a movie. It was so unbelievable.
Well, was it a
and
movie?
Weird. Well, I mean, it wasn't just a Tom. It wasn't like I was watching The Firm or anything. It was just him accepting that award.
Just making sure, because when you say Tom Cruise, he very likely could be in a movie. That's what he does.
Yeah, could have just been Days of Thunder.
Well, I wanted to start out. Well, first of all, welcome to the Conspiracy Dad podcast. My name is Dante. This is my co-host, Dave.
Hello.
And we're so glad that everyone is here. It is a privilege and an honor to be able to usher these ideas of these fringe ideas into, I don't know what it's like for you, like as far as your sphere of influence. Like, I don't know how big the podcast is going to get. I feel like it's big enough right now because even just in my sphere, like if I'm just going about my day-to-day life, pretty much almost every day there's like some dude, some dad that pulls me aside to say something about the podcast.
That's
like,
good. Yeah.
Hey man, when's the next episode coming out? Or, hey, I just finished the whatever.
Perfect.
And it's enough to keep me like going like, okay, this is a worthy endeavor. This is a worthwhile.
I think it is. Yeah.
I hope to God it
I don't
is.
get it from other dads. I get it from my boys' friends. Like
the kids?
Yeah.
The kids are watching the podcast?
More than one.
Oh God.
More than one. I know we've said explicitly this is not for kids, which is probably what makes it appealing to boys that are like in their preteen years.
That's funny.
Yeah. But more than one of my friends.
The kids are watching us.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Oh, yeah, I like your podcast. Yeah. And then
what age range are you thinking? Like 12, 14?
Yeah, like 10 to 13. Like probably not quite up to 14 yet.
That's a lot of pressure now.
Yeah.
What if we say something wrong?
Well,
as if we haven't.
I think the beauty is when you're at that age, 10 to 12, you're spouting off all kinds of inaccuracies. And you're not really being checked for it. I mean,
have we really grown that much?
No, that's the thing. Man, the more I study these things, these conspiracy theories.
I forgot to hit the switcher again, so they've just been looking at me.
That's all right.
Well, they're not you, I guess. Usually I leave it on you.
The more I look into these conspiracy theories and the more I study like genuine bona fide history, I mean, I say that, take it with a grain of salt, bona fide history as our government would have us to know it.
Yes.
The more I see, like, we, particularly dudes, don't change that much. We get a take on something when we're 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. We spout it off for a while, and if we don't get checked, we just keep saying that, which kind of reminds me of what you were saying about the baseball game. It's like, I don't know that people change all that much.
Yeah, I wanted to start with this idea of, we just finished, oh gosh, I'm not on camera now, but Sliders baseball is my son's team, and I'm head coach.
I think it's funny that I've not seen this logo before, but a turtle with like speed lines behind it.
Well,
like
that's the thing really that people don't know. Everybody looks at and they go, a turtle? And they don't. Slider turtles are very fast.
Okay.
That's the thing you think of. If I was a slider turtle, I'd be pissed at all the other turtles because they make everyone think the tortoise and the hare. But if you walk by an Oklahoma pond and you walk and there's like a slider turtle on the side of the pond, it's like incredibly fast. It's just like zip, 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 and it's in the water.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
How do you not know this? You're an Okie.
I don't spend a lot of time paying attention to turtles.
But trust me. So turtles, generally speaking, very slow.
Yeah.
Red-eared slider turtles, very fast. And they slide into the base, which it's funny.
That's pretty cool.
I hope not a lot of the moms and the team are watching this, but the moms kind of complain that I'm encouraging the kids to slide even when it's not necessary. I'm like, every time, like, slide.
Yeah.
We're the sliders. We got to slide, and they're like, they're sliding.
Is part of the strategy to like commit and not be afraid of sliding?
No, it's to be proud of who you are. You're a slider, so you slide. It doesn't really matter what the play is, what's happening. If you have the ability to get dirt on you and slide, you slide.
Yeah.
We train them to do that. I mean, that's half of the practice is just learning to slide. And so we just played a team, and I was observing. I'm going to speak in general terms now where people might be offended, but the older I get, observing both young people, old people, young people interacting, there is this thing. Have you ever seen that video of the dad who's coaching Little League and he's talking about winners and losers, and he's telling the kids, like these 8-year-old kids, he's like telling them like, the reason to be here is to win and to beat the other team into the ground. And if your dad told you you're here to have a good time and to, play fair, it's like, I hate to tell you, but your dad's a loser. Have you ever seen that?
No,
it's really funny. You can look it up on YouTube. It's had a lot of views, but anyway, I don't want to make it so black and white. Is the world full of winners and losers? It might be. It might be that like there's people. I'm only saying like you can see. So we just beat the crap out of this other team, and you can see the other dads. I hope they listen to this podcast and they hear what I'm saying. As if they give
Those sliders are so spiteful.
But they got mad at me because we're winning. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think there's two kinds of people. The winners, this is the mindset. When you're a winner, if you're not winning, you immediately think, what can I do about that? You go like, what can I change? And the loser, and I've seen it in grown men that should be ashamed of themselves, that it's like, they literally don't look to like, what can I do? They just look for an excuse. They look for, it's his fault. It's his fault that we're losing because I don't know, he dropped the ball 30 seconds before he should have or something. You know what I mean? Like there's just like, and it's like, dude, we're like 10 points ahead. Like there's no 10 runs ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I see it. I think it's ingrained in a lot of people. It's like, you're either a victim or you man up and you just do what you do what you can do, you know?
Yeah. I try to be pretty vigilant with my boy when I hear any kind of language of she made me or he made me or, well, but they, I'm like, no. Somewhere before that, you could have happened to life.
That's your job as a dad.
Absolutely.
Because it is natural for young men and women to do that. Yeah. When they've not integrated as an adult, your knee-jerk reaction is to say, it's his fault. You know, we had a play, the other team got a grand slam on us, and my son playing first base was upset because they have a one throw over rule. It's like if you get an overthrow of first base, you're only supposed to do one base, but it was actually overthrow of second base. So, but he comes to me like after the play, like upset, like, Dad, it was an overthrow. I was like, no, it only counts for one. After that, it's anybody's game. You know what I mean? So, but that's natural to like, he was immediately like blaming them.
Yeah.
What's weird is when you're like 15, 16, 17, 30, and you're still in this psychological place where in the minute that you come up with some sort of losing situation, your go-to is victim. Your go-to is, well, somebody did this to me. Like somebody's to blame. It's not me.
Well, no, certainly. Yeah. That's two things come to mind. One is like Jordan Peterson talking Cain and Abel, being spiteful against your ideal.
Yes.
Jealous. But more specifically, I listened to an interview with James Clear, who wrote that Atomic Habits book.
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
He's probably my favorite, self-help, self-improvement type dude. He's like a little less, cliche lip service and a little more like simple, practical steps. One of the thoughts that he put out on the interview I heard today was, yes, there are circumstances that everybody's born into. Not everybody's born looking like Tom Cruise, but the more good habits you put in place and the more you practice those habits and a better structure you put your life into, the more you can start to make luck start to bend to your favor. Right.
That's an interesting concept because I've heard people talk about, is luck a thing? And actually it is a thing.
Yeah.
But it has more to do with like your wiring, like what you're looking at, what you're looking for, your map of reality. Mm-hmm. And if you change your map of reality, it does seem like you become more lucky.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's something he talked about in that interview. Like we talk about the simulation having rules and the simulation likes it when you play to the rules. Being agile enough to recognize that whatever, you're banging your head against the wall in the simulation. And then, as soon as you figure out that the code doesn't operate that way, all of a sudden,
I think there's a lot of people though
a little smoother.
Like at a young age, maybe something happens. They don't even know to consider that.
Correct.
Yeah. Like it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of people though. Mm-hmm. I don't know the numbers. I'm guessing half the population, maybe more. Maybe it's that Pareto distribution. Maybe it's that 80%.
Yeah, could be.
Where it's like the 20% that actually do the work. The 80%, they don't even know that anything is wrong. They just think that's just operational mode is blame, and not like there's no self-reflection. Mm-hmm. And so how do you get somebody to be self-reflective if that's like not in their nature to be self-reflective?
Get them into sports.
I just left a game and they lost and they got butthurt about it.
Well, but my point is, I wasn't a big proponent for youth sports before I had kids until I started seeing, it's that same old adage, well, the chances of them going pro are so slim. What's the point of them even playing?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it.
Not at all.
That's a loser attitude.
Who cares?
Yeah.
No, they're not going to be a pro, but what they will take away from it, hopefully, is like in this instance, this other team of losers, hopefully some of those boys next year are going to end up on another team.
That first baseman, right? I'm going to try to scout.
Yeah. So, some of these boys, and I would venture to guess on how many kids are on your team? 12? 11. Odds are one of those kids doesn't have a great home life. 1 out of 11, right? So just having 1 out of 10 kids coming into a situation where there's a solid male presence that's like giving them input and going, hey, you can change your situation. Yeah, that's really what I think of. Like when I helped coach the basketball team, there was a boy that was lost and you could see this dad, you should know who you are, but you probably don't. The dad would drop him off and I just think this kid doesn't have a chance. The dad is completely lost. Hopefully, at least for an hour, 2 hours a week, he can be around me and this other coach who's got his act together and start to kind of open his eyes to the idea that there's another way to go about things, and have some kind of positive influences on his life.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So that to me is a big reason to get your kids into
sports. What you just said is a perfect segue into a new direction I want to take the podcast that I haven't even discussed with you. I hope you're okay with that. Yeah. But it being a conspiracy dad podcast, I thought it'd be cool if we start. The first half of the podcast will be like dad talk.
Great. Yeah.
And the second half of the podcast will be conspiracy talk.
Okay.
And we can offer the world even more than knowledge about the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers and all the things. We will give them, I mean, if we do that, if we deliver on dad and conspiracy, why wouldn't you watch this podcast?
More than once when we've been going through some of these stories, Usually I gravitate towards some dad in the story. I mean, obviously.
So you are.
That's who I am. That's where I gravitate. And just on the way over here, I was getting some like last minute, cramming for what we're talking about. I'm listening to the interview of Ron Miscavige, whose son
the dad
is
who left
David.
Scientology.
And it's just heartbreaking to think that this guy, he's trying to find a cure for his son's asthma. His son is about the age of our boys playing baseball, right? Around 9. And Ron goes, I'll give this Scientology thing a shot. Fast way forward, and we'll get deeper into it later, but his boy becomes the head of Scientology, and now he and his son are estranged.
Wow.
Right? And it's like, as the dad, you really feel for the dad going, well, you brought him into this whole thing.
It's all your fault.
Yeah. It's your fault. Don't try and blame it on Hubbard.
Okay. So for the dad section of this podcast, I thought there were 2 things we'd talk about: winning and losing, and Atwoods.
Oh. Okay.
So I don't know if you noticed the spread.
Yeah.
We have before us. But one of the things I tell dads, I don't even know if it's in the camera. Can you even see it? Yeah, you can kind of see it. Okay, so if you're in Oklahoma, you know what I'm talking about. But I've said it for years. Like Atwood's is the greatest store ever made in the history. Here's what Atwood's is. Atwood's is a Russian black market, except legal and cheaper. So if you go into Atwood's, like this is my diet, and they might cut me open one day and say like, "Oh my God, what did he eat?"
A lot of sodium.
But like you can live off of Atwood's, like pickled okra. I mean, I buy it by the gallon at Atwood's, and I eat it, and it's beef sticks. Like you don't need real food; you just eat beef sticks. You know what I mean? If you just eat beef sticks and okra and you can get pistachios, but it's not regular pistachios. It's like, I don't know, like way more pistachio than you get. And it's cheaper. It's like you go to Target to get pistachios. They're ripping you off. It's not a good deal.
Yeah.
So that was my second advice. I don't know if you have an Atwood's experience, except you can buy an AK-47, you can buy chicken food, you can buy beef sticks, you can buy a chainsaw, you can buy a lawnmower, you can buy anything you need to survive at Atwood's. So if you're a dad and you're not going to Atwood's, I would say go. I'd say, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, you sold me. I don't make it to Atwood's all that often. But I've been going too many other places for all these different things when I could just be going.
Just go to Atwood's. Yeah. And they have free popcorn. So if the kids come along with you, or if you're just a little bit peckish, just popcorn. And I don't know why I said peckish. That's a British term.
Peckish is good.
It's okay.
And if you're peckish and you're in the middle of a project, you're not wanting to like sit down to a full-scale Mexican dinner.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to oversell the popcorn, because last time I went in, my daughters got it, and halfway through they were just putting the bags in the basket. I was like, "Do you want your popcorn?" They're like, "It's disgusting, Dad."
Thanks. Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, it's free. Yeah. So
get what you pay for. But that's one of those things you tell your kids. If you're really hungry.
So if you want to help yourself to any Atwood's food, go right ahead.
I agree. Basically, the beef sticks, pickled okra, pistachios. That's what else does your body need?
I don't think you need anything else. Water.
That's fine.
Just water on top of that.
I think that's it.
I've been living off of it for over a year, so.
You look great.
I'm just kidding. So anyway, that's the dad section of the podcast. I hope you dads take something from that. If you have an opinion about Atwood's, if you have an opinion about winning and losing, leave us a comment and we'll debate it. If you could think of a better store than Atwood's, I can't think of one.
I like to think that whenever they were coming up with the concept of that store, they're in a boardroom and they're like, "We just need a store of everything that you need." And
I don't know if it happened in a boardroom. It's farmers.
Yeah.
It's guys that were just like, "What do you need?" Yeah. Okay, we're going to sell what you need.
And then while they were getting their store together, they're walking through and they're like, "I'm kind of peckish."
They don't even turn the air conditioning on. You walk around, there's just big fans.
Okay, yeah.
They're so like practical. It's like,
if
you
the
don't
doors
need to
are
heat
open
and cool
and
this
closing,
exactly. Big fans,
And if you're at Atwood's, again, chances are you've been working on a project. So you've been out sweating and you're doing stuff. So you're not going there.
No one shows up there by accident. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I like that about them.
That is.
Do you think we could get an endorsement from Atwood's?
Possibly.
I'm going to talk to them about that. Yeah. Next time I'm buying my beef sticks and okra. All right. Well, let's talk about Scientology.
Yeah.
We left off with kind of the death of Hubbard, but I know you put together some show notes, which is awesome to keep us more organized.
Trying to get a little bit better every time.
You look like you got a little bit of the end of Hubbard in there, and then you're going to parlay us into the Miscavige takeover.
Yes. And I did I told you last week or last episode that I looked at Hubbards.org site as a resource as well. And so I just thought it was interesting to like juxtapose the two, because Hubbards.org explains that he just kind of retired. He went to his home in California on his ranch and just pursued his photography and wrote fiction, which he hadn't done for something like 30 years. He wrote
really? He took that long of a break?
He took like a 30-year break and then busted out a 10-novel series.
You say a lot.
Yeah, he did Battlefield Earth, which I believe Travolta did a
Yeah, it
movie
became a
of, right?
terrible movie.
Yeah, people gave that a hard time. And then Mission Earth was a 10-volume series. So he like gets right back into his old pace of writing. The thing I thought was pretty interesting was he also composed 3 different albums of music. I don't know if they were like film scores
I
necessarily.
wanted to ask about that. Did you look
I didn't
like
check the music
like
out
he's
yet.
writing lyrics, he's writing music, he's doing both? I mean, what?
Looks like he composed 3 albums worth of music, so it doesn't say necessarily that he did any lyrics. One of the first album that caught my attention was the book soundtrack, Space Jazz.
I was going to say, well, what genre did this fall in?
Jazz, but more specifically, space jazz.
Space jazz.
That's the first one.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jazz is bad enough. You do space jazz. What the hell is that? It's all the wrong notes in space.
And Napoleon, the brother, is doing the keyboard. I think that's space jazz.
I love technology. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not clear. My understanding was that Hubbard spent the last few years of his life on a yacht because he was trying to avoid any kind of legal actions that were being taken against him.
Very clever.
But the Wikipedia says he lived in a Bluebird motorhome on his ranch. I
saw that.
So I'm not really clear.
What's the legal difference between being in a Bluebird? Like, why did you have to be mobile?
I don't know.
It's like I'm on a yacht, or like he's just ready to go at any time.
Yeah, like in the very late 70s, early 80s, he was in this motorhome in the Pacific Northwest, kind of motoring around. Now that makes sense to me. You're more elusive, right? They can't quite nail down where you are, especially at that point. There's no internet or GPS. Why he went to his ranch, which I saw a picture of the spread, and it is enormous.
Yeah, I saw that on there.
He goes to his ranch and he hangs out on his motorhome for the rest of the time.
They make really nice motorhomes.
That's true.
You know,
yeah,
I've been in
Kokomo's
a few rentals.
Beautiful one.
Does he still got it?
It's a trailer. It's not a motorhome. But it's nice. Yeah,
they make them nice.
Hardwood floors.
We've thought about buying one. I haven't yet.
He says Kokomo and Hubbard both get a lot of use out of them.
And they prefer that to normal dwelling homes.
Yeah. Well, maybe Hubbard was doing like Kokomo said. He got back off the road.
Hey, help yourself to that okra if you feel like it, buddy.
I'm not going to chew and eat, but I'll get
chew
to
and
it.
Speak.
Okra is one of my favorite snacks.
It's the Brad Pitt thing.
Was it right?
So like if you look at Brad Pitt, his best scenes, he's eating or he's smoking in every scene. He's not engaging enough. Like he's not like a Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell, he can sit still. He's on the scene. He can be doing anything. You want to watch that guy. Brad needs some sort of like, I'm eating an apple and I'm talking to you about whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, he's so cool.
So this is my Brad Pitt right now.
It's pretty good. He's with your mouth full. I don't think that's how he does it.
The ladies are going to love it.
Really makes you appreciate his ability to do that. To be able to...
I bet it's actually really hard. I heard an interview with Brad Pitt's brother who sells insurance.
Oh my goodness.
And somehow he got a thing where he could do some commercials, and he was coming as Brad Pitt's brother, but he was talking about like in the behind the scenes, and he was talking about like he was on scene or on set for the first time, and he was like, it was really hard. Like I had these lines, and everyone's looking at me, and there's all these people around me. And it's like I had a new appreciation for what my brother does. Like I thought it was all kind of silly. You try to do it. You stand up there and have a bunch of people around you judging you, and you just do your thing.
Yeah, try and look natural when you're doing.
Well, that's why he needs the apple to chew on or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Hubbard was in hiding, and while he's in hiding, he's delivering his orders to David Miscavige, who is at the time is like 21, and Miscavige just assumes power. Is the phrase that I keep hearing over and over again.
Is this coming from the Scientology side of things? Like they even say like, he just took over.
The Scientology story, I believe, their account is that Hubbard sent a message that it's funny because it's like Miscavige goes to the Scientology community. He goes, "Hey guys, I got a letter from LRH." And he shrugs his shoulders.
These cults are awesome. You can just kind of make up whatever you want.
It says here he wants me to be in charge. It looks like
his signature. So
yeah, there's a point in
no accountability.
There's a point in this story somewhere where like somebody gets promoted and then Miscavige comes back and he goes, Turns out LRH said that's not actually what he wants. He wants me to be in charge, and he wants this guy out of the picture.
And there's
nobody really gives any
just
push. They just kind of go,
that's a cult, man. That's a cult.
It's really weird.
You're just
the only thing I wanted to point out that I thought was funny about Hubbards.org was the reason I did screenshots on the show notes is for some reason, I guess because those are slides on the website, you can't copy paste the text. But you know, I did a screenshot deliberately with a pop-up window in it, and the reason I did that is because throughout these screenshots, so if you go, let's see, what's the site? Because if anybody wants to check it out, it's pretty funny. L. Ron Hubbard with 2 B's.org. It's pretty easy to find the slideshow, but they have these kind of hyperlinked words throughout the slideshow, which makes you think that those link to more information about the L. Ron Hubbard story.
But they don't?
They don't. When you,
what do they link to?
This sentence here. This is the slide talking about 1981 to 1983, where he writes Battlefield Earth. So when you hover over the word, the sentence is a saga of the year 3000. It immediately garners international acclaim. The word garners is highlighted, like maybe that's going to take you to something about the international acclaim. It's just a definition of the word garner. Collect or accumulate, as if by gathering. This is throughout all of this.
This is a very shrewd PR
It's
campaign.
really weird. It's throughout. I mean, this is slide 33 of like 35 slides.
No, that's designed for specifically to give the illusion of transparency, but it's actually not telling you anything.
Okay, so at a glance, I'm supposed to go, look, there's little links to
it's
give me more
verified.
information.
Look, it verified what garner means.
And it's, again, every slide you hover over and it's just vocabulary lessons. It's really strange. And it's almost like, I mean, the way I took it was, am I supposed to be impressed that you use the word garner? And now you're like, see, and I even know.
No, but yeah, I bet it's a psychological trick to like to just offer some sort of validation of whatever it is you're saying. It doesn't really matter what you're validating, but it gives you some sort of like, it's third party. But it's Webster Dictionary. It's still third party. You know what I mean? Like it's just some sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you go, well, yeah, but you're not validating what he's saying. He's like, but that is what it's saying.
Yeah. Oftentimes I cite the research that I did, and you can talk about source materials, but a lot of this is just podcasts and Wikipedia. It's not like I did any investigative journalism, like
what is
investigative
journalism?
How did they investigate anything before Wikipedia? Anyway.
Well, before we go much deeper, I wanted to mention something. You might want to stop talking right now. You might want to just be like, I'm
That's
out.
All.
But I was listening to a podcast with a certain academic, a religious studies academic that I really enjoy. And she's written a lot of books and she's very well known.
Okay.
And it's about the UFO subject, which we could do an update on that too. My God, we totally glazed over the fact that the government said that there's UFOs
and bodies and stuff.
Bodies and all kinds of stuff. But somebody asked her on this interview her opinion about Scientology. And she talks about aliens. She talks about everything. Like she's just kind of a very open person. And she was like, I don't talk about Scientology. And the podcast guy even pushed back and said, well, what do you mean you don't have an opinion about it? And she said, well, no, they'll sue me. So I don't talk about them. And that was it. He took her cue and just stopped questioning her.
Okay.
I wanted to scream like, no, you cannot talk. You cannot say that you're a religious studies person.
Yeah.
And then say, but that to me was kind of, I don't know if that exists right now. Like I do know that was the case 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Most people, like they would sue anybody that would talk about them. And now it seems like she's still, I mean, she's well known. So what's the difference between us? Like, are they going to sue us? I don't have any money, so I don't know
good luck.
What you're going to get. I guess you could get my expedition or something.
I have 2 vehicles at any given time. One of them is working. That's why I was late over here. I was buying car parts for the broken car.
But isn't that strange that somebody, even today, like she wouldn't even talk about Scientology because she's afraid of litigation?
Yeah, it's
even just giving an opinion. How can you sue me for my opinion?
Well, and the weird thing when she's like you said, she's a religious studies expert.
Yeah.
They are very deliberate about using the word religion when they refer to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since they got their nonprofit status in the early 90s. And anytime anybody that's from Scientology, like a representative of Scientology, is talking about an attack on them, it's a religious, they're being what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
They're they're being persecuted
yeah,
exactly
okay.
for their religious beliefs, and they're very quick to throw the word religious, and we're a religion, and
But wouldn't every religion inherently persecute you?
That's like, part of the
like I can't make this claim that like, what am I going to go around like every Protestant pastor who says a bad thing about the Catholics, I can sue them to say you're disparaging the name of Catholics. It's inherent that they're Protestant. They disparage the name of Catholics.
That's their namesake. Yeah, they protested.
They would be Catholic
if
they didn't protest the Catholic Church.
Right.
Same thing with the Jewish faith. Like what you would, they'd say, I don't believe in Jesus Christ. That's disparage. Yeah. No, you're persecuting, but they're Jews. They don't believe. You know what I mean? Right. Like you can't sue for that. You can't be like, well, I guess unless you just, I don't know, run the government or something. Operation, what was it, Snow White? I guess they do,
Oof, yeah.
But it seems like weird legal ground to say like, you cannot express an opinion about this religion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that, you think that's actually real? Like, have they won any lawsuits?
Well, I would guess that woman that neglected to comment probably just is kind of, I don't need
She doesn't
want
the headache. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
I can't imagine that they would win that. Like if they were going to sue us over this, first of all, we're idiots. We're not experts in anything. So, and are we defaming anyone? I guess Tom Cruise, he's a public figure.
But we were talking last time about how awesome he is.
Yes, true. But even so, I did learn that in college. I don't know in what class, but like, if you're a public figure, you don't have any grounds. Like, if Trump wanted to sue everyone that said a bad thing about him, the line would be so long.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like if you're a public figure. So Tom Cruise, even if I said Tom Cruise was, killing babies with the Masons in the blood trough, not saying that's true. I'm just saying, like, if I said that, like, he can't sue me over that because he's a public figure. And I mean, he could try, but he's not going to win.
Yeah.
Now, wait and see. Like, wouldn't it be funny if, like, 2 years from now, like, like everything's gone? Tom Cruise just like cleans me out.
Episode 150 of this podcast.
It's all hypothetical, Tom. Okay, I don't mean to disparage you. I love your movies, but your religion not so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so do you want to move forward with Miscavige?
Miscavige he takes over. Power. It just what was pretty interesting to me is he's 21 at the time he does this. I mean,
he takes over the whole religion at 21.
Yeah. You talk about winners and losers. This is a guy that seized the opportunity.
Man, I mean, I would say that's weird, except there have been like popes that were like 10.
It's crazy.
Which, in hindsight, bad idea.
There are probably wasn't a good idea. Miscavige, when he's, like 13, he's auditing people, which the comment I heard somebody else make, like, oh, can you imagine that? Say you're our age, you're late 30s, early 40s. You're raising children his age, and this dorky kid is like asking your darkest secrets.
But what if he said things that really made you go like, oh, gosh?
That would be pretty surprising, yeah.
I don't know if he'd say anything to impress me.
Who knows?
Maybe he would. Maybe it's like that idea of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, yeah, you think like, oh yeah, no, he wouldn't impress me. But then like, if you're actually there, I don't know, maybe he'd say something. I just think he's the one.
It's like the Golden Child.
Yeah.
That Eddie Murphy movie. Yeah. So at the time Miscavige comes in 21, we're talking about early 80s. So this is right on the heels of all of this fallout from the Operation Snow White IRS infiltration. And
the
Mary
FBI
Sue Hubbard
comes down on him like a ton of bricks.
Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue, is taking the fall for all of this. And at this point, the IRS has the upper hand. And there's this giant bill of back taxes.
$1 billion?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. I believe it's $1 billion.
Jeez.
And so Miscavige goes right to work and establishes a new corporate structure. to the Church of Scientology, which, my goodness, for a early 20-something-year-old guy to have the strategic foresight to put this in place, it's pretty impressive. So maybe when he was 13, he did have some good insights, but
it was probably all Tom Cruise's idea.
Could have been. How old was Tom? Tom Cruise would have been about like in The Outsiders, right around then.
Like he was really
just
taking
about
off.
to shoot Top Gun.
He probably told him what to do. I mean, he's his best buddy. He was the best man in his wedding. So
I don't know that Tom Cruise. It's not to say he's not smart, but I feel like Tom Cruise is such a good face and mouthpiece for Scientology. I don't see him as being the.
I have no reason to think that. I'm just like
you just like the idea.
I'm just hoping he sues me one day.
Now you're just getting points on the board.
Because it'd be nice. I mean, it would be kind of funny. Like if you think realistically, if Tom Cruise literally sued me for this, that'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, if you were destitute,
I might lose everything, but it'd still be funny.
Well, I think that's why Miscavige's dad wrote his book. Was he leaves Scientology, he's got nothing, and so he has to write a book to scratch up some money at the end. Anyway, early 80s, they establish a new corporate structure. And so he ousts Mary Sue Hubbard. She was the leader of the Guardian organization. She's forced to resign. She's not happy about it. As far as I understand, Hubbard didn't even know about this for a few months.
What is that on his RV?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. He's in his RV. Nobody told him for like a few months. And there's a little section in one of the Wikipedias I was reading where it's an account of him writing like he feared that she would be angry and want to divorce him. And I'm like, yo, no shit, man. You got her indicted on all these counts.
I think that a while back. I mean,
yeah, okay.
It's total like typical narcissist sociopath that he's like.
You think she's going to be mad?
At the point that she's like, you think she'll be upset at me about this? Maybe.
Yeah. Nah, he'd be fine.
I can't believe he just said that out loud.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. So I looked into a few of these groups that they put together, and you've got like the Religious Technology Center, Watchdog Committee, Author Services Incorporated. Now, Author Services Incorporated is the entity that it's a for-profit organization. They're the ones that kind of reap all the benefits of all of the Hubbard books.
Okay.
Now, when you look into them, what's interesting is a large amount of their profits go to a donation that was, I forget what it's called now, but it's something like, it's not Scientology, but it's like the Academy of Science of Church. I mean, it sounds a lot like the Church of Scientology, but it's just kind of a different order of words. But when you look into that, it's just an organization that Scientology created. That's a nonprofit organization. So it looks to me like, and kind of like you were saying earlier, we're just idiots, and I'm not a CPA, but I think what's happening is they're selling all of these books for
like
profit.
A shell company.
Yeah. And then they're just donating the money to their other nonprofit to write it off.
Very smart.
Pretty good.
I'd do the same thing if I was Miscavige.
Not bad. So 1986, Miscavige announces Hubbard's death and also announced recent orders for Pat Broger to be promoted to loyal officer. This is it, what I was talking about. So Miscavige gets in front of all the Scientologists and he announces like he's shed his mortal coil. LRH is no longer physically with us. Also, guys, turns out Pat Broker, not in charge. That was a forged document that said he was in charge. Really, I'm in charge. So let's just get that straight. So
you think that Hubbard wanted Broker to take over?
He did. Or maybe Broker did the same thing that Miscavige was doing. They were both jockeying for power. And Miscavige just happened to be able to get in front of a bigger audience and yank it out from under him. More than one interview I listened to, like the thought was, if Miscavige didn't snatch up the power, somebody else would have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like he's uniquely diabolical.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah, nice.
That's not.
I know you, but you're like, yeah, that's appropriate. That's exactly right. Let's see. So, throughout the course of the 80s into the early 90s, the Scientology has a whole team of people devoted to causing problems for the IRS. You would think that after this Snow Patrol thing gets found out.
Snow White, yeah.
Excuse me, not the indie rock band. So Scientology formed the indie rock band Snow Patrol.
Are they Scientologists? That'd be funny.
That would be pretty weird to find
Wasn't
out.
that Death Cab? Is that the same people or is that a different band?
Different band.
Okay, but, Snow Patrol.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see them on the same.
Equally as troubled about their relationship with their fathers. You know?
They probably
journaling just as much about their fathers.
Didn't play a lot of youth baseball growing up. Yeah, neither one of them.
They get equally lazy eyes with the hair. You know what I mean? Like the wonky eye from the hair over your eyes.
Yeah, they were.
Get your hair out of face.
Son, can I get you to do a buzz cut for the summer, please? Yeah. And in 93, finally, if you want to look into it more, you can. There are a lot of accounts of things like, similar to that Operation Snow White, we've got Scientologists just doing kind of a private investigation thing on individual IRS agents, just digging up dirt on them.
Trying to scare them.
Exactly. And so if you've got like an hour and a half and you want to watch David Miscavige give his speech of when the war is over, he's referring to the war against the IRS.
Yeah.
And so about an hour and 15 minutes into this, no, it's like a 2-hour video, an hour and a half into it, he announces that the war is over as of October.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, October, I believe it's October 1st, but it's 1993.
Is he even the person in a position to declare if the war is over?
At that point, he is.
But wouldn't that be the IRS that would declare the war is over?
He was announcing that the IRS had declared them a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
So that's just the phrasing that Miscavige used. The war is over.
Typical narcissist. It's like flipping this on.
Exactly. Look what I did.
Look what I did. Yeah.
I have to admit, when I watched that, I was thinking, well, it's like, barely 10 years into his time there, and he's solved a major problem for them. I mean, it's the biggest problem they have. More than one interview I listened to was they were upside down if you factor in. I mean, they're getting a lot of donations from just their regular Scientology folks, and then large donors like your Tom Cruise type people.
Has anybody ever documented how much money Tom Cruise has given to Scientology?
I never heard a number of what Tom Cruise has given.
I wonder how much he actually gives versus they're just having him on board is worth it.
Yeah.
Like maybe he gives like nothing. It's like all lopsided.
But in like credibility points. Because I don't think that people like you and me, outsiders, put a lot of credibility into, well, Tom Cruise is doing it, I should too. But
I don't know. I bet a lot of people in Hollywood do.
Well, that's where I was headed with that, is something you alluded to last week was, you get somebody like a Tom Cruise on board, and now all of a sudden, if you and I are aspiring actors in LA,
oh yeah,
I'm going, well, whatever he's doing, I'm going to give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And then you get in there and there's a Jenna Elfman or whoever, and the dude from that 70s show, and who just
got convicted. Yeah. That guy's going to prison
not like resort prison.
No,
but
like real
federal
prison. He was accused of rape.
Yes.
By like 3 women.
Yeah.
And originally it was like overturned.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, nah.
Overturned.
Overturned, and you're going to prison, buddy.
Bad news bears.
What's his name?
I forget his name.
Danny something. He played Hyde on that 70s show.
Yeah. It's a shame, too, because he's a pretty likable character and actor.
Yeah.
I mean,
who knows?
Here I am feeling for the guy. Danny Masterson.
Yeah.
I mean, golly. This is one of those cases where
it's an Epstein kind of thing.
Everything is going really well.
Or not an Epstein. It's a, what's his name? Weinstein.
Yeah. And the thing is, these counts are being brought, they're accusations from I say a long time ago, 10 years ago. I mean,
but still.
I'm not saying he shouldn't be convicted for it. I'm just saying, if you are him, you're kind of like, guys, come on. I thought we were past this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the climate's changed in a good way. I'd say a lot in that I think there was a lot, like I could see back in the early 2000s, just kind of, you get away with whatever you want to.
Yeah, if it's back in that Weinstein time.
Yeah, and now it's like, well, no, buddy, if you
Well, it's not like the women forget after 10 years,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, no, I say if he's guilty, throw him in the...
Golly, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact that he's a Scientologist just makes it even creepier that you're like, yeah, no, you probably are. Get out of here. Get out of here, you wacky.
Yeah. Well, the point I was making was if you're a no-name actor and you're just aspiring to get some success, even not thinking about Tom Cruise, just the fact that your community is involved in Scientology, you're going to maybe not even be that bought into it, but you're going to participate just because you want to be in that.
I'll tell you,
world.
I learned, okay, I was involved with a certain TV program for like this long. And
was this where you played the Russian waiter?
No, this is legit, like big TV show.
It wasn't that 70s show.
No,
was
it wasn't. But I was involved with auditions for the show, and it's insane to see, like, it's a reality TV show, so like that's a little bit different, but not really. But I did like immediately realize, like, there are people here that if a director went up to them and said, if you cut your hand off, I'll cast you in the show, they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
They're crazy. They're like, and there's that level of like, they want to be famous so bad, they would do anything. And so even on like, just on some level of like, even if a percentage of the people attracted to Scientology are of that mindset, that's a very dangerous,
whatever it takes.
They'll do whatever. And so you look at like, how do you infiltrate the IRS? How do you get people to be just your minions to do whatever? It's not even hard if you're in Hollywood.
Sure.
You just say, I'm Tom Cruise, I need a little help.
Yeah.
They're not going to just help you. They're going to cut their arm off and do whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean,
it's part of the genius of that early story of L. Ron Hubbard thinking to go to LA.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to find the most emotionally needy people that want validation
Hollywood,
constantly? Like you said, that are willing to do kind of anything to advance. Like, it's a pretty good guess, Hollywood.
Well, do we want to touch on Tom Cruise at all? Do we want to move forward to some of the other?
I mean, if there's anything you want to get into,
is there anything salacious that'll definitely get us sued that we could talk about?
It's nothing that hasn't been said before, really. I mean, anybody that wants to watch Going Clear would see the same stuff we got into. I mean, he and Miscavige are bros. One of them was in the other.
Talk about the crazy video. I remember watching that a long time ago with the turtleneck. He's talking. It was supposed to be like him talking to all the Scientology people.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't think like this could get leaked.
It was, I think that
before the internet, really?
Yeah. And again, I know I keep saying all the interviews I listen to, but I listened to a bunch and I heard a lot of the same kind of comments from more than one person about a number of different pieces of this puzzle. And one of the things was, when LRH put Scientology together, it's long before the internet. You could be a shyster.
Just making a video.
Sure.
I feel like if the Masons got anything right, is they stopped the cameras at the door and they said, no, you're not bringing that in here. What we do in here is not secret society means no cameras, not any cameras.
See, you're kind of not capitalizing on what you get with a Tom Cruise if you don't have him.
It's very tempting.
Make a video like this.
Yeah.
And at the time that he made this video, we're talking about, like, it's on hardware. It's a local drive holding this video. It's not like it could get leaked streaming.
Do you think they let Tom like keep all the hard copies? Like, he's like, I'll do it, but I get every copy my manager has and nobody else.
Yeah,
and they just I pinky promise, Tom.
You got it.
You got
this video. If anybody has not watched it, it's not hard to find on YouTube. It's just
they use the Mission Impossible soundtrack on it.
And when you say it's not like somebody funny on YouTube uploaded this video and put Mission Impossible music under it. Scientology produced this video.
We're going to save the world.
Yeah. And it has this, it's similar in tone to the lronhubbard.org website and also into some other websites that I went to and the Scientology.tv. A lot of style and no substance. It's got a real raspy voice actor at the beginning. Tom Cruise in Scientology saving the world. And then it's got that Mission Impossible boom, 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 boom. It's a little bit darker rendition of the melody, but Tom Cruise is just throwing out little sound bites. They're not coherent thoughts that lead one into the other. It's more just him going, yeah, if you're not bought in, don't even come to me without KSG, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're here, right? So come on. I mean, if you
That's a pretty
don't
good.
even.
That's a pretty good Tom Cruise.
I just watched it an hour ago.
It reminds me of like when after A New Hope, Star Wars came out. I think ABC somehow got them to do a Christmas special. Are you familiar with this at all? Oh man, I just changed your world big time. Okay, so maybe there's other dads out there that don't know about this, but Steven, was it Spielberg that did? Am I getting my? No, it was George Lucas.
Okay.
So when they did A New Hope, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford and the other guy, I forget his name, the one that no one really likes. No, Luke Skywalker. What is the actor's name?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Ooh, anyway, so they weren't famous. And so they get approached by ABC to do this Christmas special, and it's awful. It's the worst thing ever made. And Harrison Ford would never talk about it for years. There's even, you can look up interviews where he's on talk shows and somebody will broach the subject. And he's like, you could tell he's really mad that they even brought it up. And I guess Lucas tried to buy back all of the hard copies. He was doing everything he could to get like that out of the world, and you still couldn't get it out. It was like, but
it looks like 1978.
Yeah, it's
Star Wars
right
holiday
after.
special.
None of them were famous, and they needed the money. And I'm
Chewie's cooking. He's throwing carrots into a pot.
Dude, it's bonkers. I've watched like most of it. I couldn't finish it. It's like 3 hours long, and it's like it's just bad 70s TV. It's the worst. You got to.
It's very easy to find. Yeah.
Oh, now it is actually like 10 years ago when I heard about it, it was kind of hard to find. And a buddy of mine had a hard copy of it. And I had never heard of it. And he was like, dude, you got to watch this. And we sat down and watched it. And it was hilarious, but it was like shocking. You're like, I cannot believe that you've never seen this.
It was a quick Google. All I typed was A New Hope Christmas special.
It's out there now. And even, I think, I know Harrison Ford, at least he did like he went on Conan or something and he brought it up and he did play a clip of it.
That's cool.
You could tell he was like making the best of the, like, this is the worst. This is the worst thing.
It kind of reminds me of my son found, mini discs.
Did you ever have a mini disc player? I had a mini disc.
My son found our mini disc player, mine.
Was it like your old demos from?
It's like acoustic demos in a band that I was in. I mean, I don't want that out there. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it's got to be worse if you're Harrison
If your kid
Ford.
wants to be a musician, here's my musician dad advice, is for the first 10 years of them recording things, record it and then stop them from ever putting it on the internet.
Do anything with it.
Do not,
for sure.
like you tell them, that's great, son, that's great. Keep going.
Yeah.
But don't let it go on the internet because it will suck, whatever it is.
Sure.
I mean, I have the same thing. I have I don't know. I don't want anyone listening to that. Yeah. No, you need at least 10 years of recording before you go like, okay, that's decent. You'll like that. You'll like that when you're old. But yeah, we even have tracks, old Hawks recordings that I cringe, and I'm like, ooh, it's not great. It's okay.
It's where we were at the time.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean you want everybody to see it. Yeah,
the entire world to remember that. That's what I did.
Golly.
All right, let's button up Scientology here.
Okay.
I think we got.
Well, let's skip ahead. I mean, if you want to look into the whole, then you can. That's torture premises that they've got.
That they've got a long history of.
There are a lot of accounts of David Miscavige.
Miscavige hits people.
Yeah.
He's if you make him mad, he's just going to hit you.
Yeah, he would do kind of totalitarian style things where he just would be so erratic with his reactions to things that people were constantly working, like his executive board members are just kind of constantly trying to please him because they don't want him to react badly and take him to the hole, which if you want to look into what the hole is, do it.
The hole, is this a isolation kind of room?
It's one of their old office complexes, and it's just where they would put 30, 40 of these high up Scientology folks to sleep in old offices and old conference rooms, and they wouldn't let them out of these places. I mean,
that's nuts.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that, but I mean, it's kidnapping is what it is.
It's kidnapping, except it's legal because they volunteered to do it.
Is that how they? Yeah.
Yeah, to what I understand. I mean, I think they had court cases about it too, and it did come down to, no, you signed up for this.
You signed a billion-year contract.
You signed a billion-year contract. Like it is the religious aspect
Technically,
of it.
You owe him like, what, 900 million more years?
Yeah,
really,
well, more than that, 999 million more years. But no, but I think there were legal cases, and it did come down to, in this country, you do have the freedom, even if you're brainwashed. And I mean, I don't know where that line is, but there is a line where you go, and I've listened to Scientologists who have come out who are now critics of Scientology, and it's heartbreaking because people who grew up in Scientology and that's all they ever knew. And it took a while, like decades of their life gone to just, working like crazy, like sleeping 3 hours a night and just doing whatever until at some point they start to break through, and then they realize this is nutty and this is crazy. But the question of, are they being abused? Legally speaking, if they signed up for it and they're an adult, no. And that's, I'm sure there's lots of religious organizations that could fall in that category that do unpleasant things, like they don't treat their people well. Does that mean that they're abusing them legally, or there's some sort of legal grounds to go after them? I don't know. Probably not. You're a free person to leave, and a lot of them do. They do leave, but there's a lot that still don't. I mean, 25,000, I guess, or roughly speaking.
Well, here's one. His wife is missing.
Yeah,
that's
a weird one.
If you look into Scientology,
she's been missing for like 3 years now.
A lot longer than that.
Oh, really?
Excuse me.
She's dead.
Well, I mean,
I shouldn't laugh. Oh my God, that's terrible. I'm talking about it.
So if you follow Leah Remini at all, that's where she really started to have her break with Scientology. Leah Remini, we mentioned last week on King of Queens. She grew up in the Church of Scientology. She goes to Tom Cruise's wedding and is asking around, like, where is Miscavige's wife? And everybody's kind of like, who? And then she got concerned enough that she files a missing persons report. And the police come back after a couple of days and tell Leah Remini, she's fine. We talked to her. And Leah Remini's going, well, where is she? And they go, she's fine. So kind of a vague answer to Leah Remini. She's not pleased with that answer. So
is she still fighting for this? I feel like she is. Like,
she's still, I mean, she was pretty vocal about it on Rogan's interview with her a year or two ago. So she's still hot about it because
it seems like something you could get to the bottom of pretty quickly.
It seems like
is she alive? Is she, where is she?
Terribly different from what you were just talking about.
Yeah, she signed up for it.
There's no evidence that she's been murdered. She's just not around. And she's just not publicly.
That's what you got to do, is you got to get rid of the body.
Yeah, I guess.
You remember that movie Snatch, where they have the pig farmer?
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, always be wary of a pig farmer, because the pigs will just eat anything.
Turkish. I'm sweet enough already. Mike Render is kind of an outspoken former Scientologist. He was, I don't know if he was second in command, but worked very closely with David Miscavige. He said if Miscavige were to pass away for whatever reason, he wouldn't be surprised if Shelley were to pop back up. Like, he said, I'm not sure that she's dead. She's definitely in hiding. And by in hiding, the way I understood it was like not necessarily voluntarily in hiding.
Or maybe not. I mean,
or maybe,
that's kind of a weird concept. What if you decided to just go into hiding? What's wrong with that? Because there are certain people, even just with you, that they would, like your family, your friends, they'd kind of freak out and they go, he's just gone.
Sure. Yeah.
And you go, I want to be gone. And you go, well, you can't just disappear. It's like, well, what if you want to? What if you just want to go off grid and disappear?
And if you've been running an organization like Scientology, which Shelley Miscavige was heavily involved.
That's a good point.
She wasn't.
You might just want to go off
grid.
You
might just go, I've had enough of this. I'm going to take a break.
It's like Breaking Bad when they Saul Goodman and
sure, he calls the vacuum guy,
and they just
disappear.
He disappears. Yeah.
she went missing in like '07. That was the last time anybody saw her. So she's been gone for a long
no
15
one's seen
years.
her since then.
Nobody knows where she is. Yeah. And so
I
kind
bet
of
she shops at Atwood's.
I bet you're right.
When she
she's
needs
probably
supplies.
just living off she's probably got a couple of chickens that provide her with eggs, and she just eats those and the pickled okra, and
she makes probably a monthly trip into Atwood's.
Yeah.
Gets what she needs, goes back to the woods.
Yeah.
Atwood's.
It's a much easier existence for her than being.
She's probably in great shape.
Oh yeah. Leathery hands though, I'll bet. Yeah. So funny thing, now Miscavige is missing. Have you heard about this?
I didn't know that, actually. It's as of when?
Just as of the beginning of 2023. So
well, that's not too long.
No, but
especially for guys with yachts.
Well, but what's weird is he's like, Hubbard runs into all these legal problems and he just takes off and gets on a yacht, right? Or goes and hides in an RV. Miscavige, he's, fighting the good fight for Scientology. I couldn't find anywhere where he like made an announcement, I'm going to take a hiatus or anything like that. It's just, he kind of just up and disappeared. And it was the news story I read. What was this?
Well, if he's missing, what's the current state of affairs of Scientology?
They're still running, but it says, let's see, insider.com. Church of Scientology leader David Miscavige has been hiding from federal human trafficking lawsuit filed against him.
Oh, geez.
And the religious organization against Scientology. So a judge ruled this week, at the time the article was written, which was, I think, February of 2023. A judge ruled this week that he has now been considered served in the case. So
somebody found him.
Somewhere I read, but here it is. Attorneys for 3 plaintiffs in the case attempted to serve Miscavige a total of 27 times at 5 different locations in Florida and 5 different sites in California, but were never able to track down the Scientology leader. So the judge, I think, just shrugged his shoulders and said, we've tried to reach him. We're going to consider him served. Now he's, now he's on the run, I guess. I mean,
so there must be a timeline on when he's supposed to show up in court. And this could become a really interesting news story.
Yeah.
With Masterson being convicted and, Tom Cruise, like Tom, whether you want to or not, buddy, you're getting pulled back into the spotlight, and this is going to become an issue. I mean, especially if Miscavige is dead set on not being brought to justice. So,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, I just, as we're looking through all this, I think a lot of people are familiar with most of the things. If you've looked into Scientology, you're familiar with the Going Clear documentary. You've heard what Leah Remini has to say. You might be familiar with Mike Render. But this Miscavige thing is pretty new development.
Well, we'll have to do a follow-up 6 months from now when we go, did anybody find him?
Yeah, I don't know where he is. And again, it was kind of hard to find any news stories, anything after February of 2023.
There's still financially a massive organization with a lot of assets, a lot of money. Yeah. I don't think they're going to disappear. Like it's not going under, but there's enough there that I think they're going to continue to be a small cult with a lot of money, a lot of power. And maybe that'll be interesting if, I did read an article because I read about Masterson that it was kind of dragging Tom back into this,
It's interesting.
It's just weird that still no one's held him, like no serious journalist has been like, calling him out for this kind of weird, like,
you don't want to be, if you're a journalist, and right now jobs for journalists for like traditional news outlets are pretty hard to get. So let's say you work for, I don't know, NBC Nightly News, whatever, right? You want to hang on to that job. And if you are the one that made Tom Cruise upset enough that he will never go on NBC again, like,
well, he's just that big. He's just that big of an artist.
You're not going to be working at NBC anymore.
Well, in the meantime, there's lots of news stories to follow that have nothing to do with Scientology. That maybe the next one we'll do is a deep dive into David Grush and the state of affairs of UFOs in the in the U.S. and in the world. And if you haven't been paying attention, I meant to talk about this at the beginning, but golly, this past week has been a lot for me to take in because it's something that I've been following for a really long time, and it just seems to like continue to escalate. It's just like boiling frogs. You know that expression?
Yeah,
like
sure.
it's just slowly cranking it up. And even this week, I'm talking to people and I'm trying to explain to mouth breathers that like don't follow what's going on. There's some people that do and there's some that don't, but I'm like, no, you need to understand, like, these people that are coming forward and talking about this now, they're not crazy. They're not, I mean, if they're not an expert, I don't know who is. If David Grush is not an intelligence expert, who is?
Right.
You know?
Everything I've heard said about him is
I'm going to eat some more okra.
Good.
People going to have any.
All the journalists I've listened to that have done any looking into him keep going, boy, he's legit. Everything he says that he's done, he has done.
Except the guy from the New York Post.
Oh, is that guy?
Stephen, I don't remember his last name, but he's pretty critical.
Okay.
He did a whole series on Skinwalker Ranch. He doesn't buy any of that Mormon nonsense, and just like he ties a lot of it together with like fanatical Mormon beliefs and like a whole lot of nothing. Like there's like this TV show and there's a lot of like entertainment
and this
aspect.
Has to do with with the UFO stuff?
Yeah, because I think, excuse my Brad Pitt.
Good job, Brad Pitt. Yeah. This is attractive when you do this. Yeah.
Well, I think it has something to do with
you kind of do it the way I imagine Danny McBride would do it.
Thank you. That's a compliment. It has. We'll see, because David Grush is a whistleblower. I don't even think that term applies. My personal opinion, I think that the entire military, like the Pentagon, the Defense Department, like they're acting like he's a whistleblower. They're acting like they don't want him to talk about this. If they didn't want him to talk about it, they wouldn't let him talk about it.
Right.
Like it's almost like he's even being represented. I believe his attorney is from the Inspector General's office. And it's like he's clearly been given the go-ahead to talk about this, but then the Pentagon is saying this is all nonsense. You can't have it both ways. And so I don't know exactly what's going on, except he's coming out, and for people that don't know, he's saying UFOs have been a thing for 90 years, that there's a crash retrieval program within the United States government that people don't know about. It's like a secret crash retrieval program, and that they have been catching or finding crashed or downed alien spaceships. No mincing words here. Alien spaceships with bodies on them, dead or injured pilots from other planets for decades. And basically every 5 years we scoop up one of these, one of them going back to the 1930s. In 1933, there was a famous UFO sighting under Mussolini's government in Italy. There was a crashed UFO. I've read about it for years, but you don't really know much. But this guy, David Grush, comes out and says that was a thing. And actually, Pope Pius, I think, at the time, I think it's Pope Pius, he, in 1944-45, worked with the Americans to tell them about it. And then we came in and scooped, that's his words, we scooped it all up. And that's been going on 1947 and Roswell, and like he said, every 5 years we find or get one of these spaceships, and there's different facilities all around the US where we're trying to study them and reverse engineer them. And so as far as like how wacky is what that's pretty unbelievable. I mean, to the average person, but this guy who's saying it, well, he used to write the president's daily intelligence briefing. So he's not just
he should be a lucid person. Yeah.
He obviously he believes what he's saying. Okay. So my opinion about like what might be going on, like Skinwalker Ranch, I've heard that I think a lot of his sources are the same people involved with that. And those people, maybe I just find when you've paired it with the entertainment aspect of it, you know what I mean? Where it's like TV, that's problematic to me, because then it's Is this science? Is this actually real information? No, it's entertaining. That's what we're trying to do, is entertain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we say stuff all the time on this show it's not true. I'm just kidding. We say things all the time that, like, it could be wrong. I'm not a journalist. I'm not like if you find something I've said that's wrong and you go, Dante, you were wrong about this, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll be like, I'm an idiot. What do I know?
Probably was. Yeah.
Probably was. You're probably right. What do I know? I have average IQ. I work a job.
I try not to just spew out things that I heard once or from a silly looking website. Yeah. I try to like go, well, I heard it a few times.
You're
from
so
a few
different
people.
than me because
but
I read it on the internet. I swear it's true.
Well, I do. Most of the stuff I say I'm regurgitating from the internet, but I try to find like more than one place on the internet that says it.
Well, so we'll see. I mean, apparently they're setting up congressional hearings and Senate hearings, and this guy is he's going to be hauled in front of everybody and questioned. And if his because he's not actually saying that he's seen anything.
Right.
He's saying that he's been approached by all of these intelligence people who have told him these things and shown him some sort of evidence.
That's kind of what bothers me about it is, and like when you go, how come nobody's freaking out? I'm like, somebody made the comment on Rogan, he's not coming with any real specific information. He's given general comments about some people told me about some stuff. And I'm like, well, lots of people's girlfriends are in there.
Yeah, you just have to nail it down, which they might do. I don't know.
That keeps happening.
I think my personal opinion of what it is I'm not saying that the UFO phenomenon isn't real. Yeah. I've seen UFOs. I know it is real. I have this weird gut feeling that I think that it's being weaponized in a psyop. And it's like, they know it's a real phenomenon too. And so do the Chinese, and so do the Russians. And we're kind of jumping on this and using it as an opportunity to do something else. Yeah. I could be wrong, but if his sources come back as the same people who have lied about things in the past, you know, if it's like the same people saying that an alien invasion is coming are the same people who said weapons of mass destruction, I'd say, well, they're liars or they're incompetent, but maybe they're wrong. I don't know. That's not to say that the UFO phenomenon isn't real. I've seen it. It is real. It's absolutely a real thing. I think it has been for a long time, but the idea that we have all these craft, we've been trying to reverse engineer them, and it's all been kept secret. It's a stretch to me. I don't know. It sounds more like if I was evil and in charge, just like the moon landing, I would just say, fake it. I'd do the same thing in this case. I'm evil and in charge, and we need to bankrupt the Soviets and the Chinese. Fake it. Fake it. Make them go bankrupt. I don't care. Yeah. Anyway. Well, that's a good podcast. Got a good discussion. I feel like we as much as like non-experts could talk about Scientology, we probably did.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of the subjects we cover, the idea is to give an overview enough to where if you want to look into it, we've given you some places to dive deeper. But man, there's plenty of other stuff to get into.
Yeah, you could spend a long time on it.
I'm not asking to do that. I'm just saying we pared it down quite a bit because it's a wild story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, check it out. If you're a fan of the podcast, please like, subscribe, share, do all those things. We're going to continue to work on this, try to get better at it. Like I said, we've grown to at least an amount that I run into people that like the podcast.
When it's happening, yeah.
So we're going to keep going. Whether you're a 12-year-old who's
we're breaking into a new audience now. Yeah. Dads,
the tweens, and the dads,
and people with dads. So
we appreciate everybody so much for listening, and we look forward to the next one. So thank you.